Imaginary Goddess, I'm back with another deck profile. I know it's been a little, well, hasn't been that long, comparatively. So today we'll be doing my Thavas deck from the new Aqua set. Finally managed to get through the playtesting for this deck. It's been kind of a journey, because it really wasn't the top of my list to playtest. I was having a lot of fun with Tetra Boil and Genovius, which I guess I might profile that if you guys want, but it's pretty much, Genovius I think is the same build for everybody. So Thavas, first off, my starter is Andri? I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but it's the starter deck, starter actually. It's a GB1 counterblast and put it into Soul. Choose one of your other rear guards. To end a turn, it gets once per turn at the end of the battle that this unit attacked a Vanguard, you can stand it, and it gets plus 2k on the turn. So it's a very amazing ability. It gets you another attack, essentially. And since you're probably going to stand a grade 2 with this, it'll make the grade 2 11k if it's not already 11k. There's some crazy shenanigans you can do with this. The problem is, I don't think I've ever been able to use him in any game. I mostly fight things like Link Joker, Gear Chronicle, and Kagero, Narukami, etc., etc. Basically stuff that retires or keeps me from doing stuff with rear guards. So it might affect my playstyle a bit as well, but that's just kind of the meta around here. So I don't really get to use his ability, but so you know, I can assume it's really good. But I mean, if nothing else, it's a target. People want to kill it first, so that's fun, I guess. So then, 4 heals, of course. Vanguard heals, so on. Then, of course, 4 8 crit. So this one is the standard crit that you find in all the builds, of course. In the Soul and flip something. Flip a damage over. And then this one is the Thavas oriented one from the new set. It's a double rare. Put this into your Soul. When your Vanguard attacks, if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Thavas in its name, you can pay that cost, draw a card, choose up to one of your Vanguards, it gets plus 5. So, for whatever reason, if you're using this as a booster for something else, you can actually, even if it's tapped, put it into Soul, and it gives the Vanguard plus 5 or whatever. This actually promotes you putting things like Stacey or whatever behind your Vanguard, so that, yeah, that's, you know, extra space, and you can use something like this to boost and then put it in during battle, and it still gives the effect of the Vanguard, so it's nice mixing it 31 with the other stuff. And the draw, of course, you need the plus or, you know, get cards back to Aqua Force. It's a lot harder, I feel, than other clans. And of course, Malika, pretty standard 4 draw. That's in every build I've seen ever, and for good reason. I mean, she's just really good. Plus 3 put in Soul. There's a reason Margol it's like $5 a piece at one time. So moving on to the grade 1s, I run 4 of the Plato. This is the damage unflipper. If it's a copy, it can only guard the Vanguard and so on. I run this one because Aqua Force, at least this build anyway, and it seems like most of the major builds, besides Genovius, run a lot of counterblast. And I think that's part of the Bushiroad philosophy right now with Aqua Force, is to have the Vanguard not use as much resources and to pile most of the resources like stand effects on the rear guards, but for counterblast effects. So this is really helpful. And really, there's not really a rear guard that you're going to be like, oh, I gotta save that or lose the game. Maybe once in a while, but in general, it should be fine. Then I run 4 Kelpies. Nikki, whatever. It's the Stride Enabler, plus it lets you search for a Thavas. I generally don't get him and my other grade 3 at the same time where I'm able to play and search for Thavas. So that effect really hasn't come into play for me as much, but you know, it's nice having an option. Mainly here for the Stride Enabling. Just because it's, you know, Stride meta, so on. Then 4 Stacias, insanely good card. If it attacks from the back, GB1, it can attack front row with plus 3, so it's a 9k attacker. Essentially, it becomes like a grade 2 from the back. Of course, it's only really good at hitting rear guards unless you boost it or so on, and that's where things like the Malika one come in. And the final grade 1 I run is 2 Milanias. And she's a GB1, Wave 3 or more, Counterblast 1. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Thavas in its name, you can pay the cost if you do draw a card, and it gets +5 to enter that battle and resist. So, really good with the Thavas Stride. And also, if you have to really use her in front, you can do that too. The resist is nice too. So, that's why I run her. You can run the Penguin. But I find that the Soul Blast is very tight. The Soul is very tight in this build, so the Penguin can end up limiting you, and more often than not, you'd rather have just the 7K base than the 5K. So, but that's why I like her. She's decent. Moving on to the grade 2s, I run 4 Magnums. He's really good, standard fare, GB1, Counterblast 1 in the attacks. If it's boosted, you can stand it +2. Pretty much good all around in most decks. If you are going to run him though, in titles, you're probably not going to run Couple Dagger, which is the other good one to run. So if you don't have access to him or titles, I would generally recommend to run Couple Dagger and maybe something else with that. I forgot the name, but there's another thing that goes well with that. But I don't think this runs very well with Couple Dagger Soldier at all, just because this basically clumps up a whole row if you have him. But he's really good. But I have him, so that's why I'm running him, and he seems to work better for me anyway. Adelaide, she is the new double rare for Thavas support. She is a when this unit is placed on rear, if you have a grade 3 or greater with Thavas, Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, and if you do, until end of turn, she gets +2, and then at the end of the battle that this unit attacks a Vanguard, you can stand her, and it's once per turn. She is extremely good, and the reason why I don't run Penguins because she sucks up the soul. You really want to use your soul on her. Problem is with her though is you can't really play her early. I mean, I guess you can, but you don't want to. She's more of like you try to make when you're trying to make big plays, like Lambros or something. That's when you play her, just because she doesn't have a thing that you can activate every turn, which is what sucks about her. But I guess you could play, use or whatever, and then like block with it or something, intercept. So she's good in that aspect. I don't know if she's double rare worthy with that huge limitation on her, but it's really nice in that she can just stand with the Counterblast essentially, and Soul Blast. Then I run 4 Tidal Assaults, of course. Pretty much bread and butter in most of the builds right now, mainly because it's 2 attacks for pretty much. It's not really a detriment. I mean, -5, yeah, it's pretty bad, but generally you're going to use it to trigger or whatever. And hopefully it can still hit a rear guard or whatever after all that. But he's mainly there to get you an extra attack. And you can do some pretty crazy shenanigans with him and Lambros and so on. So that's the 12 grade 2s. So I'm actually running less grade 3s. So I run 3 Kelpie Riders. He's a GB1. All units in your front row, rear guard get continuous Vanguard rear guard circle, resist. Protects your rear guards from stuff like Agero, Narukami, and whatnot, which is really nice. But his other effect is when you place him on fan, you can choose one of your units until end of turn. It gets when 3rd time wave or more. Attack a Vanguard, look at the top 5 for a grade 3 or greater. Reveal it to your opponent, put it into your hand, and shuffle your deck. Basically lets you hopefully search for stuff to stride with, or maybe a Thavas to ride, if you have striders already. But he is okay. He's not as great as like initially I thought he would be. My problem is I keep riding him though. I'm not riding my other grade 3 as much as I'd like because I've just not drawing it. Surprising because I only won 3 of him. But I mean, defensively pretty good. Helps you save your field with the resist and whatnot while you kind of get set up for your final kills and whatnot. So there's that. Then I run, of course, 4 Thavas, trial deck card, essentially. He's the GB2. When he attacks a Vanguard, if it's the 4th battle or more of the turn, at the end of the battle, gets an extra crit, and your opponent can't call grade zeros from hand to guard circle, which is pretty good. I don't think you really get to that point in the game, though, with how fast stride matches seem to go. But then during your turn, if you stride, you can choose one of your Vanguards, and until the turn it gets, when this attacks a Vanguard, 4th battle or more, choose 3 of your opponent's rear guards, and your opponent chooses one of them and retires it. So, pretty decent effect. Again, I don't get to use it much because I never seem to be able to ride him. But, you know, Thavas, of course, is the mainstay of this deck. And probably one of the better Vanguards for Aqua Forces in general. So, moving on to the grade 4s, I run 4 Commander Thavas. When he came out, he actually costed more than Lambros. Funny enough, and there's a good reason for that. But he has since dropped in price. I think I value him as maybe a $25 card, and I wouldn't value him any more than that, just because I don't think he really changes the game that much. But it's a once per turn ability that you choose. You know, you flip himself essentially. You choose one of your rear guards. It gets +5 and can attack from the back row. It also gets until end of turn if you have GB3 when it attacks a Vanguard. Choose 3 of your opponent's rear guards. He chooses one from among them and retires them. So essentially his other ability. I've never gotten the second GB3 part active ever. The game usually ends by then, whether you win or lose. But you will stride him first in this build. And I think this is why he can replace the Aristotle and the other one that's usually run. If you just, like in my title build, I could just run 2 of him if I want to, but because it gets you GB really easily because he flips a copy of himself, and basically what you're going to use him for is having one of your rear guards attack. It basically makes your rear guard a Stacey with +5, or you can give something +5. So pretty standard. He's a safe thing basically. You don't have to have a certain number of attacks or anything with it, which is what's really good about it. And that's why I like it. And that's why I think he's at least worth something. I don't know about a GR slot for more than $25, but as a first stride, he's pretty versatile. I just wish maybe his GB3 was a bit better. Maybe draw something or something. I mean, it's kind of late in the game, and you really wouldn't use that. But that's 4 of those. Then, of course, I run 4 Lambros. Pretty much the best card in Aqua Force right now. I think he's like $50, $60. I don't know. There's a reason why it's that. Because, well, he's a flip himself, of course. When it attacks a Vanguard, if it's 4th battle or more, you could pay that cost. Choose 2 rear guards, stand them. And then, if the number of face-up cards in your G-zone is 2 or more, those 2 get plus 10k. So this will be your second stride. And if it's your 3rd stride, you probably either won or about to lose. So you really don't get to the last stride, but if it pushes, then you can do Thavas again, and by that time hopefully you have a really good field so that you could do some more shenanigans with that. But Thavas basically guarantees you a free extra attack, and this gives you 2 extra attacks that can pretty much win you the game if you do it correctly. Magnum, attack, with the 3rd attack with the Magnum where it swings for 21. If you Malika, Stacey, it swings for 21 from the back, and so on. A lot of crazy shenanigans you can do with his effect, but he's really, really too strong. I mean, as far as some of the gripes with this deck, I feel like the grade 2 lineup I don't really like Tidal Assaults, but he's just too good to not add. I might lower him down to 3 in the future if I ever feel like it, but overall, I think it's a strong deck. I'd probably rate it behind Tetra, though. So, I'd probably say that Tetra is the 2nd strongest deck, and probably Ripple beats it out just because it has a stronger early game. But, yeah, I mean, he's decent. Well, hopefully, this gives you guys some ideas with how to build your Thavas deck, and if think looking into building it. And This has been Astro Imaginary, guys. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you guys next time.